Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase have been great this season. Are they great enough to save the 2024 Bengals? Plus, has Zac Taylor lost confidence in a key piece of the roster? That and more right now on Enter the Jungle. Welcome into Enter the Jungle. I'm James Rapien. He is Andrew Fox Miller. Catch us every single Tuesday at 8 Eastern right here on Cincinnati Bengals Talk weekly on the FanDuel Sports Network. We're proudly brought to you by Garage Beer, where, yeah, it might be fall now. The weather is changing. It's a little chillier. It's the perfect time for beer-flavored beer, Garage Beer. Andrew, let's dive into the 4-6 Bengals. And they shouldn't be 4-6. I'm not sure there's a team in NFL history that is 4-6 with a quarterback that is playing at the level of Joe Burrow or Jamar Chase playing at the level that he's playing at. And yet that's the reality that the Bengals are in right now at 4-6 going into Sunday's matchup, a must-win matchup, I might add, and we'll get into it against the Chargers. Are Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase great enough to save the 2024 Bengals, a team that clearly has warts, a team that clearly has flaws on this roster?
I mean, based off of what we saw against the Ravens, putting up historic numbers, it wasn't enough then. So I don't know what evidence I have to tell me that would be enough for the remainder of the season. They're playing out of their minds, and the result wasn't a win. So a larger sample size, okay, maybe, but I don't feel that confident in it. Something needs to change.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things here. One, the reason to be confident in the Bengals moving forward isn't Zac Taylor, Lou Anarumo, the defense, all of the things that are at least partially why they're in this position. It's Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. And it's saying, all right, well, they're going to keep playing at an elite level, Burrow an MVP level, Jamar Chase a best season in Bengals franchise history type level where he would be an offensive player of the year conversations. We'll see if that can continue. If it does, then I do have confidence in them, even though they have flaws, because I do still think that these games are going to come down to quarterback play and elite playmakers. And there's a reason why I talk about those things a ton during the offseason. And for example, in the Andy Dalton era, where I was like, yeah, well, when your quarterback is at this level, everything else needs to be higher. Well, that's not the case with this team because their quarterback is playing just insane. And so if he continues to play that way, they'll have a chance every single week. But the margin for error is basically gone now. You have games against the Chargers and the Broncos, 2 games against the Steelers, a game against the Browns. They're not in the playoff race, but I'm mentioning them because it's an AFC team. The Titans as well. You got to rack up these AFC wins. And you got to beat the Chargers, who are firmly in the wild card mix and probably going to get a wild card spot. You have to beat the Denver Broncos of the world, the Pittsburgh Steelers of the world, all of these teams that you're competing against that you face for these wild card spots. And the weird part is the Bengals have the best quarterback in all of these matchups. And yet I'm questioning it at least a little bit because of everything around Joe Burrow.
To be fair, the prospect of playing a team like the Patriots that we're going to the very beginning of the season, I don't know that this team is going to lose to those Patriots again. So I guess there's some silver lining here in that I think there were some lessons learned. I think that they are capable of beating beatable teams. And you're not going to look, you're obviously not playing the Ravens for the rest of this season, but when we go into the postseason, yeah, you said it perfectly. Margin for error. Ooh, I don't know. I think this team has an opportunity between now and the end of the regular season to be able to make some improvements. I don't know. They're going to be far from perfect. I guarantee that. But can they hang in there? I think they're very capable, even with the current roster. But James, I don't. There's so much that has to change. There's so much that has to improve. If nothing else, these two, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, are going to be fun to watch no matter what.
No doubt. No doubt about that. And I'm actually looking up right now the 2012 Bengals. You remember that season? It's Andy Dalton's second season. They won 3 of their first 4. They lost the opener against the Ravens where they get crushed. I remember that game. Then they win 3 straight, and then they lose 4 straight. And it was like, all right, well, what in the world is that? So they're 3-5. And they essentially went out. They lost to the Dallas Cowboys 20-19. But outside of that, win the remaining games to finish 10-6. That's with Andy Dalton. That's with a different defense. But the point is it can be done with flawed teams. And that was a flawed team. The early Andy Dalton era, 2011, 2012, both teams made the playoffs. They were flawed. And so I look at it and I'm like, all right, well, you're competing against the Colts in the playoff standings, the wild card playoff standings, Joe Flacco / Anthony Richardson, Bo Nix in the Broncos, the Steelers, who really do look good. And so either the Steelers or the Ravens are taking one of those wild card spots. And then the team you play on Sunday in the Chargers. And so you got to find a way to win some of these games starting now. They play all of these teams essentially that they're competing with. They dropped 2 to the Ravens in a heartbreaking fashion both times. We'll see if they can right the ship on Sunday Night Football against the Los Angeles Chargers team that wins in gritty, ugly ways, but is 6-3 on the year. Up next is Zac Taylor's confidence waning as he lost complete confidence in a key piece of the roster. We'll discuss that. We'll hear from Taylor as well coming up next. Welcome back to Enter the Jungle. He's Andrew Fox Miller. I'm James Rapien. Catch us every single Tuesday at 8 Eastern on the YouTube channel Cincinnati Bengals Talk, weekly on the FanDuel Sports Network. And Andrew, let's dive into Money Mac, Evan McPherson, because he didn't get a 50-plus yard attempt last week against the Ravens. The Bengals lost by 1, and the Bengals were in field goal range twice in the fourth quarter, the first of which really hurts. And I think the first one is the most egregious of the two. The Bengals had the ball 1st and 10 at the Ravens 34-yard line with 1 play remaining in the third quarter. Burrow gets sacked. They drop to the 40-yard line. So it's 2nd and 16 to start the fourth quarter. They get some pressure on him, incomplete. And then they get some pressure on him again, 3rd and 16, incomplete. But the thing that I thought was interesting is they didn't try a quick pass, a quick run, something to get some of those yards back to put Evan McPherson back in field goal range. And so they ended up having to punt from the Ravens' 40-yard line. Then on the following possession, after they had really lost all momentum, so they were up 21-14 at that point, they punt it to the Ravens. Then we see the worst tackling in NFL history. Tylan Wallace takes it down the sideline, and Justin Tucker misses the extra point. So the Bengals are up 21-20, and something similar happens. They get the ball at the 34-yard line, 3rd and 2, and Joe Burrow incompletion. And instead of attempting a 51-ish yard field goal, Zac Taylor goes for it again. And he said he needed 7 there. And it was all about getting points. He knew that they needed a touchdown. But I asked him about this on Friday because I think, one, in that first situation, wouldn't you want to get 7 or 8 yards and give Evan McPherson a chance on 4th and say 8 to kick a field goal to give you a 10-point lead? They didn't do that. They went for it all on 3rd down, a 16-yard pass to Jamar Chase that was just off target. And then the second time you pass on it when you really need points, you need to get a little bit of momentum. And instead, the Ravens went downfield after forcing the stop and took the lead and grabbed all of the momentum, scoring 21 straight. I asked Zac Taylor about his confidence in Evan McPherson.
High. I mean, I know hasn't been exactly the type of season the whole operation has envisioned. But there's no question I didn't doubt for a second that we would make the field goal. I didn't want 3 points there. I wanted 7 points.
Confidence still high, according to Zac Taylor. I don't buy it, Andrew. I don't think the confidence is there. Evan McPherson has missed 2 attempts from 50-plus yards, 3 if you look at the exact stats, but I don't count the botched hold against the Ravens back in week 5. Where is your confidence level in Evan McPherson, and do you think that played a role in that Thursday night decision-making down the stretch?
I mean, yeah, I can certainly say that it would be a factor. I don't know how worried I am. If we talk about the Ravens game specifically, the examples you gave, just the game overall, I felt like they were playing more aggressive. Zac even said it in post game. I'm going to paraphrase, but it's like, we came here to win this football game, right? Like that was the mentality. Not that they couldn't have applied the strategy of using Evan McPherson, getting those points, and still been able to work with that mantra. But I guess I didn't really second guess it in those moments. I felt like this is the theme. This is the sort of the energy, the approach that they're doing for this game. They're just going to keep going for it. And were they doing that to a certain degree in both confidence in their quarterback to be able to make those plays, or their offense to be able to convert those fourth downs? Or was part of it their lack of trust or their lack of faith in their kicker? Maybe it's a little bit of both. I think it's more the former. At least that's how I felt watching that game. In hindsight, of course, why didn't you take those points? I felt like in the moment I was like, this is the momentum of this. This is what they're doing. They're just gonna go 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 go. Whether or not it was the right decision, okay, but yeah, I don't know if I put too much stock on the lack of trust in McPherson. Although again, I think a small part of it may be that it's certainly on their mind.
I buy that with the 4th and 2.
Right.
I do not buy that 2nd and 16. You have to get yards anyway. Like how in the world do you not gain a yard or 4 yards or 5 yards to give Evan a shot? Like on 3rd and 16, you get 5 yards on a little dump off. Like that's all they need to do is snap the ball, throw it to Chase Brown. He'll pick 4. He'll get up 4 or 5 yards. Maybe he makes a man miss and gets 8 yards and gets you into field goal range. And that's why I bring up that second one, is because they had back-to-back drives end at the Ravens 40 and 34-yard line in the 4th quarter. And the reason Evan McPherson is here, the reason he signed an extension this offseason is because of his power. Not because he makes every single kick, but that he can make any kick. And so if you don't have confidence in him anymore, fine. But you might as well just sign Randy Bullock then and just have a kicker that only kicks 45-yard field goals.
Randy Bullock. Go on.
You might as well just go sign Mike Nugent. Like the Evan McPherson superpower is his leg.
Understood.
Because he can kick a 55-yarder or a 53-yarder, and you don't have to think about it. And so he's missed 2 from 50 plus this year that I count because, again, the botched hold. My confidence hasn't waned there. Maybe the Bengals has. Maybe Zac Taylor's has. I think, and the reason we're doing this is because I think it's worth monitoring going into a game against the Chargers where points will be tough to come by. The Chargers are the number 1 scoring defense in the NFL. Can Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase keep it up against them? We will see. What's our biggest concern going into Sunday night's matchup against the Chargers? We'll get to that coming up next. Welcome back to Enter the Jungle. He is Andrew Fox Miller. I'm James Rapien, and it is Bengals. It is Chargers Sunday night football this week at SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles. All right, Andrew. It's 4-6 versus 6-3. It's Joe Burrow versus Justin Herbert. It's Jim Harbaugh versus Zac Taylor. What is your biggest concern for this Bengals team going into Sunday night's matchup against the Chargers?
I think it's a Justin Herbert that has been efficient, steadily improving as the season goes on. He's playing very well right now. And this defense, the Cincinnati defense, I'm very concerned about their ability to tackle him. I mean, it's going to sound like I'm talking about this crazy, elusive quarterback, but he's been playing that way lately. He's extending drives. He's moving around in the pocket a lot. I'm worried about the defense overall, but certainly the secondary, all of it. I just stopping Chargers offense. Because if you can do that, and you should be able to do that, we just said it. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, they can figure this out against this Chargers team.
Yeah. I think for me, and I may rant here for a second. But and we'll see. I'm not planning it, but I could feel it coming. I can see the path where I go down the rant portal. It's straight physicality and being more physical. The Chargers, the reason they're 6-3 is because they want to beat you up and they want to be more physical. They want to run the ball between the tackles, and they will run it and they will run it and they will run it, even if it's not working necessarily. And Justin Herbert you're right. He's going to be efficient and run the play action and do those things. And then on defense, they want to be extremely physical. They're the number 1 scoring defense in the NFL. I think they're beatable. They haven't had a ton of great competition so far this year. But I look, and here's where the rant could come in. I look at the past few weeks, and you play the Raiders, and Max Crosby got fined for this, but hits Joe Burrow after the whistle. and pats him on the butt and everything's okay. Oh, yeah, let's smile. Let's laugh it off. That's an unnecessary hit that number 9's taken. And then this past week, Marlon Humphrey, literally, and we're recording in 2 different locations. Joe Burrow releases the ball at your house, walks from my house to your house, and crushes Burrow in the process. No flag, no retaliation, no one. And I get it. The offensive line probably didn't see. Those hits can't happen. And if I'm the Chargers, this physical team that has been physical all year long, and I see that on film, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take advantage of it. I'm going to try to hit number 9 and number 9 because he's the best quarterback in the NFL right now, right? And that's how they're thinking. Oh, well, how do we shut him down? How do we get to him? We just keep hitting him. And so my concern is just the Bengals not being physical enough and not being willing to go to that length. Like I'm fine if one of these offensive linemen gets a penalty on Sunday night, and it's because Joey Bosa takes an unnecessary hit on Joe Burrow, and they're defending Joe, great. I hope Ted Karras rips his helmet off and throws it into the stands. You know, like
you may have already answered my question. I was going to say, where's your money on which O lineman is the first to step up and break that? I was going to say Karras.
Probably Ted, but it needs to be all of them.
Sure.
It needs to be all of them. They got to get a little nastier, and not just this offensive line, this defensive front too. Got to get a little nastier, and I think they have it in them. But that gear, it needs to hit because Burrow is getting hit too much, and some of them are just unnecessary that don't happen to other quarterbacks without getting called. And so that's where I'm at. That's what my concern is. Literally, it's such a basic thing. But the Bengals are as talented when you have Joe and Jamar to play with anyone.
Right.
But you can't be the less physical team week in and week out. And I don't think they necessarily were that against the Raiders. There was just times of it. There was flashes. They certainly were against the Ravens. Cannot happen on Sunday night.
I hear you. I mean, if anything, look at what division you're in, Cincinnati. Like you have to be able to get to that level. And if it's going to take the Chargers to be able to prove that you're going to get more physical, like we're on borrowed time here. So absolutely get more physical, because it sounds to me, everything you just described, insert Pittsburgh, insert Cleveland. You know what I mean? Like that's the way it's going to be in the AFC North. So I agree with you. And to the point of the offense, I'd be curious to see how this Chargers defense against Cincinnati's offense is going to look. I'm going to use the word is. I'm not going to say might. Is going to look when the Bengals eclipse 20 points on the scoreboard. And I bring that up. Chargers.com had mentioned data provided by NFL. Chargers are the 4th team in the last 40 seasons to allow 20 or fewer points in each of their first 9 games of a season. Well, guess what?
Yeah.
Like this is the test here. What is this Chargers defense going to look like when they're not in their little safe pocket for the, first half plus of the season?
Well, the Bengals will hang way more than 20 points if they're the more physical team.
Absolutely.
They will, right? And that's why I bring it up, because it just goes hand in hand. I don't question the talent. I don't think there's going to be any problem with Jamar getting open or Joe Burrow finding the right guy or Mike Gesicki having a nice game or insert whoever on offense. So we'll see. We're going to have a ton all week long on Cincinnati Bengals talk on this matchup, a must-win matchup. But up next, Andrew's anxiety continues.
Oh, yeah.
What am I talking about? Find out next on Enter the Jungle. Welcome back to Enter the Jungle. I'm James Rapien. He is Andrew Fox Miller. And Andrew, your anxiety continues. The Bengals brought him in, Xavier Howard, a veteran cornerback. You've been talking about corner for months. They bring in this former All-Pro. He has ties to Lou Anarumo. Apparently his workout went well, and he leaves town without a deal on Monday after working out for the team Monday morning. I think it's fair to say, and we have a compilation here, that Andrew's cornerback anxiety will continue. What concerns do you have?
There's one constant thing I've said. I said it going into free agency. I said it coming out of free agency. I said it going to the draft. I said it coming out of the draft. It's cornerback. There's just a big concern there. Your best corner right now is Cam Taylor-Britt. After that, what are we doing? I just feel like they should be getting some veteran depth. They haven't done it.
Andrew, your top worry, concern a few weeks back was cornerback. What currently is cornerback?
I'm going to say it again. I've said it before. Cornerback is top of my list, and it will continue to be. It's the most unknown. That's just a fact, and it's going to be weighing on me week after week. This isn't like I look at the cornerback room as like the embodiment of like Jackson Carman or something. This isn't that. I'm not expecting this to be a big bust of a cornerback room.
God.
My concerns are in between the youth and inexperience, let's just say it, at that position. I love the potential, but can we rely on it? James, in the world of sports content, that's what they call evergreen. It still holds up, unfortunately. Heading into week 11, everything I just said, nothing has changed. I feel the exact same way. And that's why I wouldn't say infuriated, because honestly, it was the trade deadline I was surprised. But we're past that. And the fact that Xavier Howard would just rather remain unemployed for the time being than work out whatever they were trying to work out with Cincinnati. Obviously, I don't know the details. We don't know. But what are we doing? What are we doing?
Just get it done. Just get it done to help Andrew out. Come on, Katie and Troy.
Yeah.
Come on, Duke. Come on, Bengals. No, that's where I put it. Why would you not be able to get this done? It's weird. It's odd. And Andrew's anxiety continues, which is a bummer. That is the reality. And in DJ Turner, Cam Taylor-Britt, we trust, says the Bengals.
And by the way, that was June through August. There's probably been more since then. There's not enough time to find all those clips. And that was all with Dax Hill healthy on the roster.
Yep.
So imagine, I was that worried then.
It's the reality that the Bengals are in. We'll see if they can respond the right way. We're going to have you covered all week long here on Cincinnati Bengals Talk. So for Andrew Fox-Miller, I'm James Rapien. Thank you so much for watching Enter the Jungle.